How's it going, everybody? We're here in Stansbury Park out near Tooele today on a beautiful morning, getting ready to do some duct sealing at one of our customers' homes. Today, we're going to take you along the ride of the process and hopefully answer any questions that you might have about the duct sealing process. So come along and join us. Hey guys, how's it going? This is Dan with Method Air. Today we are at one of our customers' house talking about the duct sealing process. This is Brad and Tiffany. Nice to see you guys again.
Good to see you, Dan. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, you bet. Well, today we're here. Obviously, we wanted to talk a little bit about the duct sealing process. We've been talking about this for a little while with you guys, kind of explaining the benefits and the perks of doing the process and how it benefits our house. But I wanted to first kind of go over what are some of the questions that you guys have had over the process about duct sealing.
I think one of our first questions is how do we know we even really need duct sealing?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's one that we commonly get asked because it's something that we don't necessarily see on a day-to-day basis, right? We're not paying attention to our ductwork. You can't see the airflow, things along that. But what we found is most homes that are 5 years or older, they will have a problem in their home with their ductwork. We're seeing anywhere from a 25 to a 40% air loss in the total volume of air in their home. So we don't immediately acknowledge it or see that because it's our everyday life. Right? But as we go through that process, those things break down, the holes are there, we're adding ductwork as life goes on. So usually the older the home is, the bigger the gaps that we see. So it's one of those subjective questions. I think sometimes people look at it and be like, yeah, exactly. How can I tell if something's going on or if I need it? But it's a pretty common problem that's out there. And a lot of times the biggest denominator, the biggest thing that we're seeing that there's a problem with the ductwork is someone's going to have a hot or a cold zone in their house, right? This bedroom is always hot. This one's always cold, depending on the season. It can just never regulate. Or they're seeing that there's big temperature fluctuations from the top to the bottom, right? That's an indicator that the air is not going where it needs to go. So that's
and we've
really
definitely got that issue.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing as we talk about, right? There's just some of that inconsistency throughout the home. And that's usually a number one indicator that there's a problem there. What other questions do we have?
We told you we finished some space in the basement, closed up another area, and the airflow got even worse, and I didn't understand that. So
yeah, it's super cold in the basement, super hot upstairs. So that is one thing that we've noticed.
In the summertime.
Yeah, and also in the summertime, we have a super high power bill. So
Okay.
that was the first clue for me that something's...
Yeah, and that's another great indicator. I should have brought that up as well. A lot of times we'll see, because what's happening is, if you're thinking about it on air volume, and as that air is moving through the house, if it should be pushing, let's say, 1,200 CFM through that house.
What's CFM?
Cubic feet per minute. That's the measurement of how the air is flowing through the house.
Gotcha.
And so as we're looking at that number, and let's say you have 300 to 400 CFM that are escaping, that's just going into your basement, that means your system is having to run a third to maybe even more harder to try and get that air moving through your house. Mm-hmm. So it's running longer to try and make those things sound, which turns into your power bill, right? Yeah. And so that's a major indicator, not only price, but there's comfort as well, right? So the first thing we kind of touched on was more comfort based, right? It's just, there's inconsistencies in temperature, but the next thing is the energy efficiency side of it. So not only in your actual power bill, but if you think about the wear and tear on your system that it takes, because your system's having to run harder to try and push the same amount of air to where it needs to go. And so that's a really big point.
So how does this work then? What's the product like? How does it make it so that doesn't happen anymore?
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically what happens in the process is we come in, we're first going to test the CFM at all the vents. So we're going to get a baseline of kind of where that airflow is going, which vents are high, which vents are low, where the inconsistencies are. At that point, we'll go in and we'll basically block off all the vents through your house. So we'll completely seal them up, and then we'll hook up to your main trunk line downstairs. And what it does is it pressurizes up the system, just like your furnace would do. So it adds pressure to the system. When that happens, it gives us a reading that tells us how big of a hole collectively is in your system. So I've seen it anywhere from a 20-inch hole up to an 80-inch hole in people's houses, depending on what's going on. Wow. So once we have that reading, then we can go proceed to seal the process. And the way that happens is there's a glue that gets heated up in the system, and then it sprays that glue through your system. So it just kind of goes through, finds where those little holes are, and slowly seals things up. The nice thing about this product, it's a lifetime product. It's not something you have to do after every 2 or 3 years. Once it's sealed and taken care of. It doesn't break down. It doesn't degrade. It's non-toxic, so it's safe.
So how long does the process take?
So typically the process can take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, just depending on how long it takes to seal up all the vents in the home, and then how long it actually takes to seal. So depending on how big the hole is, it can take a little bit longer.
So how will we know if this has worked at the end of the day?
Yeah, so we get reports before and after. So we're basically going to go and we're going to show you what the problem is before. You're going to have an opportunity to see and feel the results yourself before, and then we'll go back and we'll repeat those results when we're done. It actually will print us off a report. It'll tell us the exact numbers of how much decrease we've had. In the past, we usually will see somewhere in the ballpark of a 93 to a 95% reduction in air loss. So today, that's what the process we're going to go through. We're going to show you those results and give you all the numbers exactly how it is and what it looks like. We're back, right? So we've now gone through the process. We've plugged everything up. We've now sealed everything. If you look on the report, it kind of tells us a little bit where we started. So at the beginning of the process, you had roughly a 336 inch or CFM of leakage. So out of your 1200 system, you're roughly about 28% of your system was just leaking to wherever, 30%, roughly in that range, which is kind of about what I figured. After now completing it, brought it down to about 23 CFM, so roughly a 5 square inch hole after where it was close to 65 square inch hole.
So we're losing about 1% now.
Yeah.
As opposed to almost 30%.
Correct.
That's better.
So your leakage is way down. So basically from where it was, we were able to drop it down roughly in that ballpark of about 93% reduction in the air leakage.
That's awesome.
So what that's going to do is it's going to equate to better airflow. We're going to go around, we'll fill some of the vents here. We'll show you the difference physically. You've seen the numbers of what they are, but really it's in how you feel it moving forward. So we're going to run all the numbers. We'll show you the numbers of the CFM where we marked before, so you can see at each vent kind of the difference from before and after as well. So if we take an average CFM increase per register, it averaged about 23.2 CFM increase per register. So that's the air where it's now supposed to be going in each house. So you're going to see better cooling, better efficiency, so your comfort's better, your utility bills are going to be down. Great benefits. But if you have any questions about this service, reach out to us. We're happy to come do a consultation in your home.